computer.
Actually, I don't need to be on screen.
Sure, you can. Okay, welcome, sisters, to our book printing class. We welcome you, and we're going to be looking at a book that Carrie has written. It's a children's book, and looking at also a sample book that my grandchildren helped me start to put together. That's also a children's book. We'll be also talking about ways to put together different sorts of books. And so this is just a way for you to learn how to use the Amazon service to publish a book. Hopefully we'll answer your questions and you'll be able to get some beginning information on that. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is kind of the interface that Amazon uses. And so I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. I do have a document that Joanna is here tonight, and she's typing some more information in there. And there is a link in there how to set up an account on that. I'm going to share my screen. So give me a minute. Okay. So over here we see this is what the Kindle Direct Publishing looks like when you have an account. The link that I put in the document is how to set up an account. It gives you information to how to do that. But once you have an account, this is the bookshelf right here. And in the bookshelf, there will be all of the books that you have. So I'm gonna pause for just a moment. Okay, so before I share my screen, I'm gonna just show you some different titles that I have published. The very first book that I did, it was actually Amazon had a different name for their service. It was called Create Space. And it worked a little bit differently because through Create Space, they were the publisher. So they were actually the publisher of your books. And the first book I did was a parenting book called Don't Get Mad, Get Busy. So this one, I actually developed the interior of the book in Word. I might have, yes, I did. I used Word for this. And then I used Microsoft Publisher for the cover. Okay. So that was what I did for this book. That was the first one that I made. And then the next one that I did was actually a family history book. This was something that my uncle had written years and years ago. And after he passed away, my aunt wanted to take this. There was a PDF version of this that we actually, here's him on the back. There's a PDF version of it that we actually just took it and uploaded it just the way that it was, and it worked. It doesn't work so nicely now. They're more picky about what the inside looked like, but in those days it worked well. We did this in Create Space as well. And then the cover, they have a cover creator. We use their cover creator to make this cover. Okay, so that's the second one that we did. The next book that I did was my mother wrote a book about her life, Love in a Tin House. This book is about her. She grew up in downtown LA, and the home that she lived in was actually not zoned to be a house. It was the Palace Plating Works, and they lived upstairs from the business, and it was literally a tin house. Didn't even have a proper bathroom or kitchen. They just brought in stuff for them to use it as a home, and they were supposed to be there for just a short period of time, and they were there for a long time. So that's this book. This one we did the interior with Word. This one does have some pictures. At that point in time, Amazon did not have a way to print the interior in color. It was only black and white. So all of our pictures were black and white, and we did this in Word. Formatting pictures in Word is a little bit squirrely, but I got it to work. It is possible if you have mostly text. And then the cover, my daughter designed the cover on this with Photoshop. And then I just superimposed the other stuff on it. I think I probably just did it with Word or something to get it all with the text and things, but she did the picture part. So that's Love in a Tin House. So that's the next one that we did. After that, I published my novel, The Goats and the Sheep. So this was the first version that I did. Now this is done with the cover template, okay? I designed this part and the back part with the girl and the beach, and then I just pasted it into the cover template. Unfortunately, when you print a book like this, and if you want to sell it commercially, you get a lot of naysayers that say, well, it's not professional looking, so the book must not be good. You can't tell a book by a cover. It does not work if you want to sell a book, because everyone looks at the cover. So I ended up, and I also had a lot of errors in this book. So I ended up republishing it. This is what I did over the pandemic. So that was my novel. This is the same book. So this cover was designed using a program called Affinity Photo. Affinity has several different programs. They have Affinity Photo, they have Affinity Publisher, and they have Affinity Designer. They are inexpensive, powerful programs that allow you to manipulate images and words. And this is my pandemic project. I bought this book, which is a workbook. It was kind of expensive. It was like $50. But if anybody wants to borrow this and learn the program, you're welcome. I did it when I was just having not much to do and couldn't go anywhere. And it's very similar to Photoshop and those other kinds of photo manipulating programs where you can use layers and manipulate the different pieces. It's it's difficult to learn, but once you learn it, it's powerful. I'll show you a little bit what Affinity Publisher looks like. And that's a little bit, that works a lot better for if you're doing a picture book or a children's book of some sort. But your interior can definitely be done on Word. I did the interior of my novel in Word, and it was just fine. I published it that way, and you can use Word for that kind of stuff. The next book that I did was for my aunt, the one who's this is the wife of my uncle whose book we published. This was about her mother, and this one actually does have colored pictures in it. I did this one in Word as well. This one was originally a PDF. We tried to upload it and it didn't work. So I had to convert it to a Word image, and then I had to do a ton of reformatting to get it the way that we wanted it. But I made it work because it was a primarily Word still, even though there are pictures in it. So formatting in Word is not easy, but it is possible when you have pictures. The bad thing about it is you can't really see the layout. So you just see one picture, and you'll see why that's important when we talk about Carrie's book. And then the cover, we just use the template again. Okay, so that's a template for the cover. And then the most recent book that I've done, this is called Memories of My David. This cover I actually designed with Affinity Photo. This is my dad on the front, and on the back is my mother. So she was actually pregnant with me in this picture. You can't tell because she's really trim. And this was my dad's car that wraps around and goes to the front. And this took a little bit of work because this front part of the car was actually not in the picture. It was cut off. So I had to find another picture of the car and paste it in there. But it really wasn't that difficult to do with the program. And it gave me another opportunity to practice with Affinity Photo. So that's this. And then also the interior I did in Word as well. And that's fairly easy in a chapter book. The thing is in a chapter book, there are templates that Amazon gives you that you can download to do that. Now I'm going to go back to the interface for, I'm going to share my screen again. Go back to the interface for Amazon. So once you get your account set up, and if anybody wants to publish a book, but they don't really want an account, and they would like to do it on mine, you are welcome to do that as well. I'd be happy to upload it. I did that for my aunt. She has subsequently done another family history book that one of her kids helped her do because she doesn't want to keep depending on me to do it, but I'm happy to do that and help you do that. So this is what the interface looks like. You'll see right here when you create a new title, you get a choice to do a Kindle ebook, a paperback, or a hardcover. Hardcover is new. They didn't used to have hardcover, so it's limited sizes. The nice thing about this is they're always changing it. When I did my first book, my children's book, it was there was limited sizes, and I really wanted to do an 8x10, but they didn't have that size, so I ended up having to go a little bit smaller. But they do have bigger sizes now. That one that I did for my aunts is a little bigger size. So you have to decide what format you want your book in. You can just do an ebook. Ebooks are kind of nice because they're inexpensive and they're portable. But if you want something that's a little more permanent, paperback is the way to go. You can do more than one. My novel is in paperback and the ebook, as well as my parenting book. I haven't done a hardcover yet. I haven't tried that yet.
Audio.
I've not tried that either. So that's a whole other ball of wax there. Yeah, an audio and an ebook. So then these are the different parts that you need. Now I want to go over the interface first because I want you to see what this looks like and know what you need to even start. So this is a new book that I started right here. It's called Bernie Bones Explorer by Joe Vongs. You can see that you can put any author in here. This is a pen name that my grandkids made up. Not sure we're sticking with it. This is our working title. If you're working on a book, you can always just save it as a draft, and then you can keep coming back to it and changing it. And even after you publish, you can change it. My book that I did, my novel, when I republished it, I just changed it. I changed the interior, I changed the exterior, I updated the ebook, and I just changed it. So everything in here is live and you can change it at any time. So then if you just look over here, you can see the other books I have. Here's Memories of My David, which is my mother's book. The Life History of Marie Sanal, I can't pronounce it because it's Finnish. The Goats and the Sheep. This is the updated version. You can't get the old version anymore. Well, theoretically. Don't Get Mad, Get Busy. And then you'll just see some other stuff that Life in a Tin House, Life History Stories of David John Williams. And then you'll just see some other stuff that I played around with and never did anything with. So it's pretty usable in that manner. I'm going to click on this one that I started, the Bernie Bones Explorer, just because I want you to see what the setup looks like. So it's going to ask you what language it's in. It's going to want a title and a subtitle if you have one. And then you can make a series. So if you're making a series of books, you can hook them all together in this manner, edition number. You can put an author. You can also put contributors. You can do more than one author, I believe. You can do a co-author, and you can do contributors in here as well. Then you'll want to do a summary, a description, okay? And if you're doing something commercially, this part is super important because this is what people read to decide if they want to buy this book, okay? If it's not commercial, if it's just for your own use or for family use, then it can be very utilitarian. So it kind of depends on your use on this description. People spend a lot of time on this. I'm in several Facebook groups that are author groups, and a lot of times they'll post their description and have people read it and say, how does this sound? And people will critique it and try to help them improve on it. You'll want to say if you own the publishing rights. You can also do a public domain work, but generally you're going to want to do your own work. And then these are keywords. Now, if you're doing something that you want to sell commercially, these keywords are super important, okay? Because these are when people do a search on Amazon, what's going to come up. So you're going to want to look at other books that are similar to yours that you want your book to come up when people look for that book, okay? So these are really important if you want to sell your book commercially. If you don't, it's not important at all. It's optional, okay? And then it's the same thing with categories. Categories, though, this keywords you get to pick. Categories, there's only a certain number of choices. And this is trouble I've had with my novel, is it doesn't fit any of the categories. It's obviously a fiction book, but my book, I know some of you have read it. Did you read it, Joanna? It's a story about a young woman who's LDS and her quest to understand and live the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it doesn't really fit under any of these categories. I mean, you can put it under women, but a lot of the women categories are a little bit edgy. You can put it, I mean, it was almost like a coming of age, but some of the coming of age books are a little bit, you know, I don't know, the people kind of do things that are kind of out there. It's Christian, but it's not Christian. I definitely can put religious in there. So it's hard to find a label if you do something different, but those labels are important as well. And then it just asks you if you have adult content. So we're going to go on to the next page. On the next page, it says I have to choose a category. So this one is going to be this children's book, and I can change this later. And we're going to pick, look, there's a category called gay. That's very interesting. Lesbian. There's a lot of interesting things in here. We're going to pick, I'm just going to pick, just to pick something, fairy tale, folk tales, legend, mythology. Okay. All right, so we're going to save and continue. When we get to the next page, oops, it wants a description. All right, so add something here later. So if you don't want to put something, you just put something in there just to make it work. Okay, now we're going to save and continue. Okay, very good. Now on the next screen, it's going to ask me if I want to get a free ISBN from Kindle Direct Publishing. Now I want to talk about the pros and cons about this. An ISBN is the number that is assigned to your book. It is a number that is unique, and that's how they can find your book. You can get a free one from Kindle, but once you do that, you're limited on where you can have it published. You can't necessarily have someone else publish it. Even though you own the book and you own the rights to the book, you don't own the ISBN because Amazon paid for it. You can purchase an ISBN. One ISBN by itself is pretty expensive. You can buy them in blocks of ISBNs, and then each individual one is pretty inexpensive. But unless you're going to do a lot of books, it's not very cost effective. You also want to take into account how much money am I really going to make on this book, and am I making money on this book? I've just done the free one every time. So that's just been my go-to. And then your publication date, you don't have to put anything here. They're gonna put in the date that it's going to be live on Amazon if you put nothing in here. Okay. Then you're going to pick your print options. They have a black and white interior with cream paper, black and white interior with white, standard color with white paper, and premium color with interior. Now, this is important because the different sizes are only available in different types of paper. Okay. You're going to want to figure out your trim size before you do it. Okay. Before you figure out how much your size, you're going to want to figure it out. And there are pages on Amazon that show you all the different sizes and options. Okay. Bleed is the edges that allows for printing and cut off. And if you want to know more about bleed, you can go here. It'll teach you, it'll show you how to do it. And then your cover. Are you going to do matte or glossy? And then you have to decide if you're going to use their template or you're going to upload your own. Okay. So I would recommend that when you're publishing a book, that one of the first things you do when you're deciding all of this information is look at other similar books. Go on your bookshelf, go to the library, go to, somewhere that has a lot of books, and look for books that are like yours. The more your book looks like other books that are similar, the more people recognize it as that thing. Genre is a big, big thing in the book industry. Now, if you're just doing something for your own personal use, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you like. But if you want to to sell a book, it's all about what it looks like. If it looks like other books in the genre, people are more likely to pick it up. Okay. This is where you upload your manuscript. There's a link here to tell you here's the template. So if you want to do a template, you download this. And this tells you more about the manuscripts. This tells you the different kinds of templates you can upload. I usually do a PDF because I know that it's going to look exactly the way I finished it out. I do my Word document and then I do it as a PDF. Okay. And then this is your book cover. If you want to use their book cover creator, you just go right here. So we're going to just launch the cover creator just to see what it looks like. Okay. So you choose a design, you edit it, and then you preview it. Okay. So we're going to pick a picture. Hold on, not from there. I did that wrong. I want to pick, oops. So it kind of shows you what it looks like here somehow. And you can pick any of these designs that you like. I'm going to pick this one. All right. And then I wanted to put an image on here, but somehow it didn't let me do that. Hold on. Choose layout. And you can, once you go in here, you can change the layout. So you're not stuck with the one you picked. You can put a picture in here of the author. You can add an image in here, which I think it asked me earlier if I wanted one. We're going to go out of here and we're going to start over on this because I did want to put my image in there. All right, let's try it again. Launch cover creator. Continue. All right, from my computer. So we're going to get Bernie Bones right here. I think I have an edited version. Hold on. No, I don't have an edited version there. We'll just use this one. All right. So there we go. There's Bernie Bones. Let's do this one. Okay. Obviously, we want to edit Bernie Bones because we don't want my grandson's hand in the picture. How do you? But you get an idea of what that looks like. Okay. So, and then you would edit this. This is about the author. This is your little blurb about your book goes on the back. Okay. And then you'd go to preview. So this is pretty easy. It works pretty well. And you get a not bad looking cover. So if you aren't super picky about your cover, this is definitely a way to go. Your cover contains placeholder images. So it's not going to let me do it, but we're just going to save it. And then we're going to exit this. Maybe. I'm just going to type a few words here about the author. So let me go on. Blurb about the book here. There we go. All right, now it should let me save it. Preview. All right. So then that will just submit it to them. Okay, so then anything you upload, they're going to process it. You're not going to be able to see this right away. It takes a day or two. Okay, so save and continue. It doesn't like that I don't have an innards, so I need to get an innards for this. I'm going to put something in here just so that we can stick a manuscript in here. Hold on. All right, I'm going to come back to this because I'm going to show you some other stuff. So I have a book. This is Carrie's book right here, but let me see where my other book is. I'm not real great in working around this program yet. I'm still kind of new at it. So let me see if I can find my other one. We're just going to close this for the time being. Okay, here we go. Here's Bernie Bones. So this is the sample book that I did. My grandson drew the pictures. We wrote some text. It's obviously a very rough draft and there's a lot of pages that are blank. So what I want to do to this is I'm going to, once I get my insides, whether I use a program like this or I use Word, I'm going to want to export this and I'm going to do it as a PDF. So I'm going to save it as a PDF. You're going to want to look at Amazon and make sure that you have, I don't think I was sharing my screen there. Here's what it looks like. You're going to want to make sure that you have done it the way they require you to do it. Okay. But at least I have the book for right now. All right. I'm going to go back to Amazon here and I'm going to upload my manuscript. So I'm going to go here. Here's my sample interior. So it's going to upload there. Now they're going to want to look at it. I think they have an electronic thing that looks at it. I don't think an actual human does. But so it says they have an interior and they have a cover. So now it's going to let me go on. Oh, it wants me to preview it. Hold on. Launch previewer. Okay. Well, it's not letting me for some reason. Please preview and approve your book. Okay, well, it's not going to let me go on for some reason. So I'm going to show you on a different book that's actually done. Because normally it lets you save it and go on to the other stuff. So let's just go back to the bookshelf. All right, I'm going to show you on this book right here. Actually, I don't know if I have a book that will let me do that. Well, I'm going to want to show the next few screens. Let me talk about pricing. For some reason, it won't let me go beyond that. But if you look here, it tells how much the different books cost. You're going to need to price your book. And how you determine that is your purpose. If your purpose is primarily for sharing it with people, like this one, you'll see that this is only available in paperback. It's $4. You're going to get royalties on your book, and it's going to tell you how much the royalties are going to be based on how much it costs. This right here, this $4 is the cheapest we could have sold this book for. It's pretty much selling it at cost, and there's not really any royalties. Okay. This one is pretty much that way as well. This one right here, I make a bit of a profit. It's not a whole lot. And then the ebook, I make a tiny bit of a profit as well. So you want to kind of decide what your purpose is. And there's like a sliding scale that tells you this book is a little more expensive because there's colored pictures inside. So it will tell you when you get to that part. Let's try and see if it'll let us one more time go to that piece. I don't know that it's going to let me go past there, but we'll try it. Says it's in progress. It won't let me. Nope, it's gonna want, it says I have to look at it. So this must be new because it's never let me not get past here without totally having it, but maybe here. All right, we're going to assign the free ISBN. Maybe that's what they want me to click on. Okay, I think we might be good now. Nope, they want me to preview it. So here's the previewer. It takes a while. All right, while that's churning away, we're going to talk about the different kinds of programs, and I'm going to stop my share over here. The different types of programs that you can use to develop your files, okay? The easiest program to use for like a chapter book would be Word. Or if you're using an Apple product, Pages or something like that, that just lets you manipulate your words. And if you have pictures that aren't huge pictures, that works pretty well. And most people know how to use it, and it's available. Programs such as Google Docs are not very good because it doesn't have a lot of options on manipulating your text. If you don't care that much what it looks like, you could use it. But I would recommend something like Word or Pages if you're using a Microsoft, an Apple product. When you're doing your cover, obviously there's the Cover Creator, but I found Affinity to be good for that. Now there's different ways to build your cover. You notice when we did the cover, they had a wraparound. They did the front and the back. It's because we're doing a paperback. When you put this on Amazon, there's going to be what's called a thumbnail. The thumbnail is just the front of the book, and that's all that's going to show when you go to sell it. Okay. That could also be your cover for your ebook. A lot of people, when they make covers, they just do the front cover first and then they do the wraparound later. I like to do it all in one fell swoop. I like to do it all together. And then I just cut off the cover piece for my thumbnail. Okay. So it kind of depends on what your purpose is on that, of what you want your cover to look like. If it's mainly just for distribution for family and friends and yourself, then it doesn't matter that much. Just do what is easy and what works for you. But as I said, if it's for commercial distribution, the more professional looking your cover is, the better. There are a lot of independent artists who will make covers. They're not super cheap, but if you are trying to sell a book and you think you have something that would be good for large distribution, it could be worth doing that. I can also help people work on them a bit, but it is pretty time consuming. So those are some different ways to do covers. Joanna, do you have that outline in front of you? Let's see what else okay, we talked about Kindle Direct Publishing. We're still waiting for the thing to generate. We talked about interior content. Yeah. Let's talk about a draft copy. So one of the things that I did with Carrie's book, and let me just share this with you, is I made a draft copy first. And I usually do this when I'm making any book. So this is Carrie's book. This is just in Word. Now she has an artist that drew her pictures. Everything in the words here are what she wrote. These are the directions for the artist. These are her words. It's the actual text of the book. Editor's notes. And all the editor's notes. So all I did here was compiled it so that you have everything that's going to be on a page on a page. And it just makes a really easy way to look at it. Anytime you're doing any kind of a book, you want to just have some way to have a draft copy that's easy for you to look at so that you can organize it. And I did this in Word because I'm most familiar with that. Anything that you're familiar with would work for that. Okay. The next thing that I had on here to talk about was we talked about planning the size and the style, and we talked about templates. You can download the templates. I would recommend if you're doing a chapter book to do the templates from Amazon. Now, this template that I did, this Bernie Bones book, and let me share this one again with you. Not that one. Hold on. This template that I did the Bernie Bones book in, I actually downloaded from the internet. And this isn't right. This would be, well, it might be right. There's one of the nice things about some of the programs that are available, and Affinity is that way, is that there are tons and tons of YouTube videos that show you how to do stuff. And this was a guy that had a YouTube video on how to use Affinity Publisher to write a children's book. And he actually had this template that is one of the sizes that Carrie and I talked about for her book. So I downloaded it. And that's where I did this, is I just pasted it in here for this demonstration. So there are things online that you can download for free. Doesn't cost anything. So templates are really nice and really useful. I tried to find some templates. Let me stop my share. I tried to find some templates for children's books on Word. Couldn't find anything. There are some YouTube videos on Pages. So if you have an Apple product, you can use that. But I couldn't find anything for Word. I assume you could do it on Word, but there's a lot of settings and stuff you have to change when you're doing graphics that I couldn't find instructions for doing that. So people that are graphic artists might know that, but I don't. We talked a little bit about color versus black and white and text versus images. You want to know that beforehand. And then we talked a little bit about different software. Some of the programs you can use for your cover. There's always Photoshop. Now I want to tell you the pros and cons of Photoshop versus Affinity Photo. And there are some other programs out there. Photoshop has gone to a subscription plan. So instead of just purchasing the program, which it was super expensive before, and then you own it, you have to pay a subscription per month to use Photoshop. Okay, so the only people I really know that use Photoshop now are professionals because it's expensive. Affinity Photo is really nice and really inexpensive, or Affinity Publisher. Let me add Publisher to this. Affinity Photo.
What about Photoshop Lite?
Oh, it's up here. I haven't used it for that, but you could probably use that. There are other programs that you could use as well, such as I've used Adobe, what's it called? Adobe, there's an Adobe program that uses layers and stuff that you can use. The drawback of that is you don't have the access to the templates and things that you do when you're using a program that uses the nice thing about Affinity is it uses the same kind of program, the same kind of files as Photoshop. And there's lots of templates out there. Any other program, you might not have access to those same kinds of templates. Does that make sense?
I thought Photoshop Lite was part of Photoshop.
It might, it might be. You might be able to do it with Photoshop Lite. Have you used that before?
No, somebody told me that they were using it.
Okay. And I don't know how much that is, but I will tell you that this is well worth the money. It's about $50, but they have sales. I got it for half price, 25 bucks. And it is well worth it, even the $50. I didn't pay for the Affinity Publisher because I haven't used it before. You get a free trial as well. So I got the free trial for it, and that's what I'm using right now. But I will likely purchase it. There's coupons all the time to get it cheaper. I think there was a 30% off coupon that I was able to find. So it's not terribly expensive and you can use it forever. It's not like Photoshop where it's a monthly installment. So, and there's free upgrades and stuff. So I paid for it during COVID. So it's been, you know, like a year and a half, and I just paid the original like $25 for it. Another way that there's also Microsoft Publisher. Microsoft Publisher is not as powerful as Photoshop or Affinity Photo, but it does allow you to do the pages and see the layout and move things around. It's simpler because you don't have to use layers the way you do with that. So that's another option, Microsoft Publisher. That is what I use for my parenting book. And then the other program that some people use for covers is Canva. I don't know if anybody has used Canva before. I've used it quite a bit. There's a lot of templates and they're always adding things to it. There is a free version, and you can purchase elements, and then there's also a paid version. You can pay for it as well. I know a lot of people have used Canva for book covers. I have not, but that is an option.
I just used it for flyers.
For flyers, yeah, I've used it for flyers. I've used it for invitations, stuff like that. So those are just some options on covers on programs. Okay, a couple of things on finishing up. First thing is editing. My dad was into advertising and he had his own advertising business. And one of the big rules of publishing anything is edit it, edit it, edit it, edit it. He would write copy and it would just be a few words, and he would not only have everyone that worked for him read it, but everyone in the family read it because there's almost always errors. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure everyone has read books that you're like, look at these mistakes in this book. It's almost impossible to get a printed version of something that's completely correct. It's just, you know, our eyes, especially when we're reading our own work, we automatically fix it. So I can't say enough about editing it. I mean, I had a lot of people read my novel that I wrote. I think my parenting book was actually pretty good. When I went back to republish it, I really didn't find any errors. I'm not saying there aren't any because I would never say that, but there was way more errors in my novel than I expected there to be when I went back to republish it. So my mother was reading it and she said, "Do you want me to tell you the mistakes?" And I'm like, "You were supposed to do that the first time you read it." I'm like, "Please tell me the mistakes." And then I ended up having a contest to see who could find the mistakes. And there was a lot of them. So yeah, edited a lot. When you get to the point where you're ready to publish it, I recommend that you do an author copy. Now, you can purchase your book in a couple of ways. The first thing when you purchase it for yourself is you can buy author copies. When you buy an author copy, you pay for it at cost, okay? But you have to pay for shipping. If you're buying a lot of books, it's worthwhile to do that. If you have Amazon Prime and you just want one copy, it's often cheaper and it's way faster just to order it on Amazon Prime, okay? That's what I did on my mother's book when we wanted to do an author copy. We ordered the book and we just ordered it off Amazon Prime, and then I turned it off on being it for distribution. And then we read it again. She and I both read it and looked for errors before we actually put it out there. So I highly recommend that when you think you have your final copy, that you print at least one copy of it, send it to yourself, go over it with a fine-tooth comb, maybe even give it to a person or two to look at it, and before you actually send it out there to other people. When you get ready to actually buy a lot of copies, then you probably want to use the author copy avenue, because then it's worth paying for shipping when you get a lot of them, okay? And then an ebook. They have a way that you can take your book, take your Word copy, and you can get it, you can just convert it into an ebook, and that's through Amazon. They just have a program that does it for you. It works pretty good. It's a little bit glitchy, but what it does is it just automatically pastes it in, and then you can go in and edit it. It's not as user-friendly as, say, a normal word processing program. You got to play with it to figure out how it works. But it's not too bad. And then once you publish it, you get this little folder, it looks like, and you upload the whole folder to the ebook. And then if it works correctly, it will link your ebook and your paperback or your hardcover book all together, so that they're all in one spot as one item on Amazon, and then you can just see different versions. Okay. The other thing is that once you get your ISBN and you publish it, then it should automatically go to things like Goodreads. My novel is on there and I never uploaded it. It just does it automatically. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is distribution. Now, if you're just doing this for family members or for yourself, or because you think it's fun, obviously you're just going to distribute it however you would like to. But if you want to commercially sell your book, this is the hardest part, because, and hold on, there was an error with my files. So it doesn't really like it. Doesn't like my cover. Oh, well, I guess I can't show you that part. Didn't like my interior either. I think it might have just gotten stuck. Sometimes it does that. We're going to see if it'll let us go past this. So the distribution piece of it is the most difficult, because there's just so much out there. You know, it's so hard to distribute a book. When you sell a book to a traditional publisher, that's one of the things that they do. They distribute your book. They put it in bookstores. They advertise it. They want to sell it because they want to make money. When you're doing it yourself, you have to find a way to do that. So, and it's possible, you can do it. It takes a lot of work. And so that's the difficult part. If you did a good job on getting your cover and linking it to some keywords, then sometimes you can sell it through Amazon pretty well. But a lot of times people want to do things like take it to bookstores. Sometimes you can get it in bookstores, and print copies and take it in there, and they'll put it in the stores. Some places they'll take it on consignment. Social media is a good way to get the word out there. I have a Facebook account that's just an author page, and I've spent a lot of time putting content on there and getting followers on there, so that when I get ready to publish my next novel, I have a few people that are ready and wanting to read it. Often your first book doesn't do much. It takes a while. It takes getting a few books underneath you to build up that readership and get it out there. So that is the number one hardest part. I was not able on this Kindle account to get past this. It doesn't like my sample book covers. So I failed on that. But the next pages just have to do with distribution. Kindle's going to ask you where you want to distribute it. There's a whole bunch of a list of things, of places you can distribute it. Really, you only care about Amazon. The other ones are in different countries. Unless you think your book has widespread appeal to other countries, you probably just want to do Kindle. I did expanded distributorship is what they call it, and you have to set prices different in those different audiences. But my later ones, I just stuck with Amazon.
I did all English speaking countries.
Did you?
For my dance book.
Mm-hmm. And then it will help you set the price and all of that good stuff. So is there anything that I missed, Carrie, that I should tell to these ladies before you and I just talk about?
I don't know. It's a lot you covered.
It's a lot. How about you, Joanna? Any questions? Okay. So we're going to end this Zoom session. Joanna has been taking notes and putting things down, and I will make the notes available to everyone as well as this recording. And oh, one more thing I did forget to say. If anybody wants help publishing anything, I did develop a label. So let me just show you that. And I mainly did it, I did my aunt's, I can actually just show you, give me that green book right there. In my aunt's book, I developed a distributor, a publishing label. It's not really a publisher. I called it a publishing, but it's really a distributor. It's called Goats and Sheep Publishing. And I mainly did that because CreateSpace was the publisher of the books originally. But now that Amazon has moved it into Kindle Direct Publisher, you are the publisher of your own book. I wanted a label on mine besides self-published. So I came up with this Goats and Sheep Publishing. So if anybody wants to go through my account and have me publish it through that Goats and Sheep Publishing, you'll notice on here I put that it is published by my aunt, edited by me, and distributed by Goats and Sheep Publishing. Okay, so I did use that. I have a logo that I have for it. And so anyone that has doing anything that's uplifting is welcome to use my label for that. So that's the only other thing that I did not mention. So we're going to go ahead and end this session, and anyone is welcome to ask me if they have any questions or they need any help with anything. Thank you.